Welcome to Module 8, the last module in our series, Mindful Collaboration. Congratulations on making it this far. Let's think about how far you've come. When we first started, we looked at our board of sticky notes, of obligations and responsibilities, and we felt stressed. We felt overwhelmed. Since then, we've learned techniques for breathing exercises to relax and calm ourselves down. We've learned methods of reframing the way we think about events so that we can be more optimistic, more forgiving, and more grateful. We've learned methods for living in the present, moving beyond the past with its depression and regrets, and moving beyond the future where we are anxious and worried. We've learned ways to advocate for ourselves and others using mindfulness. And today, we're going to build on that in mindful collaboration. In this module, you'll learn to identify 4 pillars of getting to yes through collaboration. You'll also learn strategies to master each of those pillars so you can apply them to real-life scenarios. And you'll learn the benefits of deep listening as you collaborate with others. Finally, you'll start to think about what you can try starting tomorrow as you begin again on your journey. As we did with the last module, we're going to begin with a breathing exercise for 5 minutes where you can choose the technique. Again, you can choose to focus on your breath, allowing your thoughts to wander through your mindscape. Or you can use visualization, picturing yourself as a pebble being tossed into a river and gently flowing down and landing in the riverbed. You can use sensory grounding, where you focus on one sense at a time and then change your focus to another of your senses. Or you can use body scanning, where you relax each part of your body from the top of your head to the tips of your toes. Or you can choose loving kindness, where you focus on yourself first and offer words of loving kindness, wishing yourself happiness and hope and health. And then you change to someone you care about and offer those same words of loving kindness. Let's begin. Get comfortable and relax. Start with your half smile. Focus on your breath, counting slowly as you inhale. 2, 3, 4, and exhale. 2, 3, 4. In, 2, 3, 4. Out. 2, 3, 4. Feel your belly rise as you inhale and your lungs empty as you exhale. Remember that reality is in the present moment, where you are and who you are right now. Now choose from one of the mindfulness breathing techniques you have learned. Focus on breathing, visualization, sensory grounding, body scan, or loving kindness. Very slowly, very gently, bring yourself back to the present moment. Let's take a moment to reflect on the breathing exercise you just completed. Which technique did you choose? Did you choose a different technique than you did last time? Why did you choose the technique that you chose? Most importantly, how do you feel now? Let's think about how we can build breathing exercises into our days for the future. Try to set an intention about when and where you will do your breathing exercises. Let's talk about getting to yes through collaboration. Fisher and Ury, in a project called the Harvard Negotiation Project, Getting to Yes, Negotiating Agreement Without Giving In, developed a concept called principled negotiation. This is a framework that strives to be wise and efficient, but still also support our relationship with the other party. There are 4 pillars: people, interests, options, and criteria. Let's talk about each of the 4 pillars in a little bit more detail. Consider this scenario. You have a daughter, Sam, in 4th grade. The teacher has brought to your attention that Sam is frequently getting out of her seat during class. This is going to be a topic at the CSE meeting. If you use the pillar of people, you will separate the problem from the person. You will understand that the problem is Sam is getting out of her seat. And the person, the teacher, is not the problem. If you use the pillar of interests, you will know that both you and the teacher would like Sam to sit more appropriately in the classroom throughout the day. If you use the pillar of options, you will start to think creatively of other ways to solve the problem. For example, you both want Sam to sit in her seat more appropriately. You could wish that, or you could come up with strategies. You could say, what if Sam is allowed to stand up between each subject? What if there's a perimeter around her desk and she can move around in that circle? What if Sam sits in the back of the room and she can get up periodically throughout the lesson, but just stand in the back of the room so she's not interfering with other people? If we use the pillar of criteria, we are basing the conversation on the facts, on a certain standard. This may include data. For example, on a normal day, Sam gets out of her desk maybe 3 times per lesson. What is the goal? Is the goal for her to not get out of her desk at all? Is there an intermediary goal where she can get up once or twice and we can build? By making the standards and criteria very concrete, we know what the goal is and where we are starting. So using the pillars will help you to frame your mindset as you approach this CSE meeting. Now let's learn some strategies for how to address each of those 4 pillars in a better way. Let's master them so we can use them in the situations where we need them. Starting with people. The strategy is called the Q-tip strategy. Quit taking it personally. This is something you need to remind yourself when you're in a collaborating situation. You might even want to bring a Q-tip with you to the meeting to remind yourself that we may be addressing a problem, but it's not an attack on you personally or on your child. Another strategy for helping you address the pillar of people is the STOP strategy. It stands for stop, take a breath, observe, and proceed. If you really think about it, it's asking you to stop so that you can bring yourself back to the present moment. It is something you should do when you're in a stressful situation, like a meeting where you're trying to advocate for yourself or for someone else. You might even consider bringing along a little picture of a stop sign to remind yourself that this is a very important piece in getting the right mindset for collaboration. In our busy world where multitasking is part of our everyday life, it's very easy to go from one phone call to an email and run off to a meeting. In order to practice the pillar of people, try to slow some of these things down. When it comes to phone calls, allow the phone to ring 3 times before you answer it. Give yourself that pause. When you're writing an email, write a draft of it. Take a few moments. Come back and reread it before you send it. And prior to an important meeting, take some time to do a breathing exercise or establish mindfulness before you enter the door or jump on that online meeting. When it comes to the pillar of interests, you want to keep in mind the shared interests you and the other party have regarding the situation. A strategy is to ask yourself some questions. Do we have the same goal? Do we both care about the same person? Do we have the same timeline? Do we share the same resources or limitations? Ask yourself if there's anything else that you share as a mutual interest. When we think about the pillar of options, we can use Stephen Covey's think win-win concept. How can both parties benefit? This requires us to brainstorm options. And then when we think we've exhausted all the options, we think some more. We use creativity to broaden the types of options that we can consider. We think outside the box, and we come up with as many possible solutions as we can. In order to best address the pillar of options, you want to make sure you focus on the problem. Bernard Roth, in The Achievement Habit, thought about this concept, design thinking. He came up with some suggestions. What you want to do is make lists of the potential options that you could consider. You might even create an idea log as ideas come to you or to the group. You can ask what-if questions and bring humor into the conversation. And think of other ways and other techniques to help you get unstuck, to move past any barrier or place where you can't see any more options. There are also strategies for addressing the last pillar, criteria. One, you want to think about if there is an independent standard that's not dependent on either party, but is also practical. You want to agree on an objective standard, if possible. For example, how will my child's educational progress be measured? In our scenario of Sam, what will success be? How many times is she allowed to get out of her seat during the day? What do you consider getting out of your seat? If different standards are proposed, how can you work together to agree on one? Or compromise to get to a place where you have at least the same standard that you're working with? If there is conflict, are there procedures to help you move beyond that conflict so that you can agree on an objective standard for this particular scenario. As we think about the 4 pillars as a whole, there are some practical ideas for getting to yes. One thing you can do is think about, what are you willing to agree to? What can you say yes to that will not only move the situation along, but also gain goodwill from others? Once there has been an agreement made, be sure to lay out your points. Present the facts and avoid saying you are wrong. And throughout the process, be sure to listen intently to the others, their opinions, their conclusions, and their understandings of what has been agreed upon. One of the best ways to learn how to listen intently is to practice deep listening. Thich Nhat Hanh describes deep listening in this video. Pause our video and click on the link in the description below to find out more about deep listening. Now that we've discussed the 4 pillars and some practical ideas for getting to yes, it's your turn. If you're following along in the manual, take some time to really think through this exercise. Consider a conflict or a situation you are currently experiencing. How can your mindset affect its process or its outcomes? Think through each of the pillars. For people, how can you be hard on the problem but soft on the people? For interests, how can you make sure that the interests of both parties are recognized? For options, what can you agree to? What are you willing to give in order to move the situation along and gain the goodwill of the other party? What kinds of creative options can you think of that might serve both parties well? And for criteria, what kind of objective standard can be used to define the problem and measure the outcome? Pause the video and take some time to really think through this exercise so you can apply what we've learned about the pillars and the practical ideas for getting to yes to a real-life situation that's important to you. Congratulations on your achievement. I'm so excited for what you get to start tomorrow. Remember that even little things can make a difference. What if you start your day with a half smile and then maybe return to it periodically throughout the day? What if you master those stress reduction techniques? Or practice breathing exercises for just 5 minutes a day? What if you tried journaling? Or you list what people and what things you're grateful for every day? What if you learned to change your negative beliefs and plan rewards for yourself, some me time? Think about the benefits to your life as you learn to be more mindful. As we conclude this program, remember that it's the start of your journey. Remember that mindfulness is evidence-based and causes real changes in your body for stress reduction. Remember that you are not alone. You can reach out to others who are on the same journey. Remember that learning stress reduction strategies and mindfulness strategies is just the beginning. Keep practicing. Learn new strategies. Try adding mindful movements like yoga or Tai Chi. Try doing an entire mindfulness day. And remember that if you falter, if things get stressful, if you lose the path to mindfulness, you can always begin again.